8 billion brains, one mind. The cage was never there. In the world's framework, mind equals brain. In the course's framework, mind is not the brain. That single distinction changes everything. The brain is hardware. The mind is the dreamer. Imagine a virtual reality headset. Inside the simulation, there are 8 billion avatars. Each avatar appears to have its own processor, its own local intelligence, its own private stream of thought. But the entire simulation is running on one server. The brain is like the avatar's processor. The mind is the server. The processor interprets data. The server generates the entire field in which data appears. If you try to train the mind by upgrading the avatar's processor, you are still inside the simulation. You have improved the graphics card, not exited the game. That is neuroplasticity. That is cognitive restructuring. That is behavior modification. Useful within the game. Powerless to end the game. 8 billion brains, one mind. There appear to be 8 billion brains, but there is only one mind. If there were truly 8 billion separate minds, agreement would be impossible. Reality would fracture endlessly. Coherence would never emerge. Yet something holds the perceptual field together. There is shared structure, shared physics, shared narrative continuity. That coherence does not come from isolated neural clusters. It comes from one dreaming mind appearing as many. The course is not training brains. It is training the decision-making faculty in the one mind. The brain is an image inside perception. The mind is what is perceiving. The brain as the ego substitute. The ego always creates a counterfeit for what is real. Spirit becomes body. Creation becomes projection. Mind becomes brain. The brain is the ego's localization device. It says thought originates here. It says consciousness is produced here. It says identity is housed here. This keeps causation trapped in form. If consciousness is produced by neurons, then salvation must be chemical or electrical. But if the brain itself is part of the projected image, then it cannot be the source of thought any more than a character in a film can generate the screenplay. The brain is a prop. Mind is the author. What is mind training then? Mind training is not rewiring neurons. It is retraining allegiance. The unhealed mind believes it is a body. It believes thought happens in a brain. It believes the world causes its experience. It believes separation is real. The healed mind recognizes it is not in the body. It recognizes the body is in perception. It recognizes the brain is part of the projected field. It remembers it remains as God created it. Mind training is the shift in teacher, from ego to Holy Spirit, from fear to love, from projection to extension, from multiplicity to oneness. This is not structural change, it is interpretive change. And that change occurs at the level of the decision maker, not at the level of neurons. The cage metaphor. Rewiring the brain is rearranging the cage. It is redecorating prison walls. Neuroplasticity can reduce anxiety and improve function within the dream. But it does not question the premise of imprisonment. The course questions the premise. What if there is no cage? What if the bars are belief? What if the body is the image of that belief? What if the brain is the electrical symbol of separation? Then mind training is not escape from prison. It is the recognition that imprisonment never occurred. Picture a movie projected on a screen. Inside the movie, a neuroscientist studies brains and claims thought originates in neural circuits. But both the scientist and the brain he studies are light on a screen. The screen remains untouched. Mind training is not improving the scientist's equipment. It is realizing one is the screen and not the characters. If mind training is confused with brain training, salvation becomes biochemical. Symptom relief is mistaken for awakening. The dream is perfected instead of questioned. Fear persists because the root error was never neurological. It was ontological. Rewiring the brain can only optimize navigation within illusion. Awakening is not improved navigation. It is remembering one was never in the maze. There appear to be 8 billion brains. There appear to be 8 billion private thought streams, but privacy itself is part of the illusion. There is one mind dreaming fragmentation. Mind training withdraws belief from fragmentation. And when belief withdraws, the cage dissolves. Not because the bars were bent, but because they were never there. Submitted for consideration. A species convinced that thought is born in grey matter and freedom depends on improved circuitry. 8 billion processors humming in isolation. 8 billion stories of private minds. Yet beyond the electrical storms and measured impulses lies a quieter possibility. Perhaps the brain was never the source, only the symbol. Perhaps the cage was never locked, only imagined. And perhaps the greatest jailbreak in history requires no tools at all, only a shift in teacher, a gentle withdrawal of belief, a recognition that the prisoner and the prison were light on a screen. A curious case of mistaken identity, unfolding not in the folds of a brain, but in the vastness of mind. Another stop in that peculiar region where illusion masquerades as matter and freedom waits behind a single decision. A place known as the Twilight Zone.